No one understood why Taehyung suddenly stopped walking and quietly lifted his phone toward Jin on that rooftop. At first, it looked like a normal candid moment between close friends, nothing unusual, nothing dramatic. But seconds later, fans began noticing something that changed everything. The way Taehyung stayed focused, the way his eyes never left Jin, and the quiet expression on his face made the moment feel deeply personal. Jin stood there peacefully, completely unaware that this simple photo was becoming something much bigger. And when the image finally spread online, fans couldn't stop asking the same question. What exactly did Taehyung see in that moment that made him capture Jin like that? The answer may be more emotional than anyone expected. As the rooftop moment continued, the atmosphere seemed to shift in a way no one around them immediately noticed. The city below was alive with movement, lights reflecting against endless windows, distant sounds blending into the background. Yet in that exact moment, everything around Taehyung appeared to disappear. His entire focus stayed locked on Jin, almost as if he was trying to preserve something that could never happen the same way twice. What began as a simple photo slowly transformed into a moment that fans would later describe as impossible to forget. Jin remained near the edge of the rooftop, calm and unaware of the silent attention being directed toward him. The sunlight touched his face at just the right angle, creating a scene so naturally cinematic that it hardly looked real. There was no pose, no preparation, no attempt to create a perfect image. And maybe that was exactly why Taehyung refused to lower his phone. It was not about taking a picture. It felt like he was trying to hold on to something far more personal, something deeper than what cameras usually capture. Those who later watched the footage frame by frame began noticing details that made the moment even harder to explain. Taehyung did not take one photo and move on. He stayed there longer than expected, quietly observing, adjusting his angle, watching every movement as if every second mattered. Fans started asking why someone would pay that much attention to a single moment unless that moment meant everything. As clips from the rooftop began spreading online, millions of viewers became obsessed with one specific detail. It was not the skyline. It was not the luxury location. It was not even the photo itself. It was Taehyung's expression. Something in his face looked different. Softer. More emotional. Almost like he was seeing a version of Jin that nobody else in that moment could fully understand. The internet quickly exploded with theories. Some believed Taehyung had noticed Jin lost in thought. Others believed he was capturing a memory he never wanted to forget. But the deeper fans looked, the more emotional the story became. Old memories resurfaced, past moments between them were compared, and suddenly this rooftop scene no longer looked random. It felt connected to something much bigger, something built quietly over years that most people never noticed until now. And then another unseen detail began changing everything. When the original image was zoomed in, fans discovered something so small yet so powerful that it sent entire communities into emotional discussions. The angle, the timing, the expression, and the silence between them created a story that no caption could ever fully explain. What Taehyung captured on that rooftop may have looked like just another photo to outsiders. But for those who saw every detail, it felt like a memory being protected before it could disappear forever. And what fans discovered in the next frame made the entire moment even more unforgettable. As more fans began analyzing every frame from that rooftop moment, the image started revealing layers nobody had noticed at first glance. What seemed like an ordinary photograph suddenly carried an emotional weight that felt impossible to ignore. The closer people looked, the more questions appeared. Every detail felt intentional, yet completely natural, as if the moment had happened exactly the way it was meant to. Taehyung's posture remained one of the biggest mysteries. He was not rushing. He was not laughing. He was not distracted by anything around him. Even with the city stretching endlessly behind them, his attention never shifted away from Jin. For several long seconds, he stayed perfectly focused, almost frozen, as if lowering his phone too soon would mean losing something important forever. Fans immediately connected this to older memories, remembering how Taehyung had always been the kind of person who noticed moments others often missed. Meanwhile, Jin remained completely unaware of the storm that was about to begin online. Standing against the skyline, surrounded by sunlight and glass reflections, he looked peaceful, almost lost in his own thoughts. There was something about his expression that felt deeply different. Not sad, not happy, but reflective. It was the kind of expression people make when their minds drift somewhere far beyond the present moment. And somehow, Taehyung noticed it before anyone else. Hours after the image surfaced, fan communities across the world began comparing this rooftop scene with countless older photos and videos. What they discovered only made the mystery deeper. Similar expressions. Similar quiet observations. Similar moments where Taehyung seemed to watch Jin not as a performer, not as an idol, but as someone who meant far more than words could explain. The pattern was impossible to ignore, and once fans started seeing it, they could not unsee it. The emotional impact quickly spread beyond casual viewers. Even longtime fans admitted this moment felt different from anything they had seen before. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. It did not need music, editing, or captions to become unforgettable. The silence itself became the story. And that silence created something far more powerful than anyone expected. Then another detail appeared that changed the conversation completely. In one of the clearest frames, just before Taehyung lowered his phone, his expression shifted for less than a second. It was subtle, almost impossible to catch unless someone slowed the footage down. But once fans noticed it, everything changed. His eyes softened even more, and for that brief moment, it looked less like he was taking a picture and more like he was protecting a memory. Social media exploded. Millions of views turned into millions of theories. Some believed the moment reminded Taehyung of something from years ago. Others believed he simply realized how rare these quiet moments had become. But no matter what theory people believed, everyone agreed on one thing. That rooftop photo was never just a photo. And when a previously unseen angle from that same day finally started circulating, fans realized the story might be far more emotional than they ever imagined. What happened in the next few seconds left even the strongest fans completely speechless. When that unseen angle finally appeared online, everything changed in a way nobody expected. Fans who thought they had already understood the rooftop moment suddenly realized they had only seen a small part of what actually happened. The new footage was clearer, longer, and far more emotional than anyone was prepared for. It showed the same rooftop, the same skyline, the same sunlight reflecting across the glass buildings, but this time, something in Taehyung's behavior stood out even more. Instead of immediately lowering his phone after capturing the photo, he stayed completely still. For several seconds, he did nothing. No movement, no laughter, no attempt to call attention to himself. He simply stood there, watching Jin in silence. That detail alone sent millions of fans into emotional discussions because it made the moment feel far more personal than anyone originally believed. Jin, still unaware, continued looking out toward the city as if he was lost inside his own thoughts. The wind moved softly around him, his expression calm, distant, and almost nostalgic. There was something incredibly human about the scene. No cameras from staff. No stage lights. No performances. Just one quiet moment high above the city where two people seemed disconnected from the world around them. As the footage continued, fans noticed Taehyung slowly adjusting his grip on the phone, not because he wanted a better angle, but because his hands appeared almost hesitant. That tiny movement instantly became one of the most discussed details online. Many believed he was debating whether to capture another photo or simply keep the memory to himself. Others believed he was realizing how rare moments like this had become. Then came the detail nobody was emotionally prepared for. In the reflection of the glass near them, a faint image revealed something almost impossible to catch in real time. Taehyung was not looking at the screen anymore. He was looking directly at Jin. Completely focused. Completely silent. And for those few seconds, it looked like the camera in his hand no longer mattered at all. That single frame spread across the internet faster than anyone could imagine. Fan pages, reaction videos, edits, and emotional breakdowns began appearing everywhere. Millions of people replayed the moment over and over, trying to understand what they were seeing. Some called it friendship. Some called it admiration. Some said it felt like a memory being created in real time. But no matter what people believed, nobody could deny how deeply emotional it felt. As older clips resurfaced, fans started connecting even more pieces together. Similar looks. Similar silent observations. Similar moments where Taehyung seemed to notice Jin during the quietest parts of the day, when nobody else was paying attention. Suddenly, this rooftop scene no longer looked like an isolated moment. It looked like part of a much bigger story that had been unfolding for years without most people realizing it. And just when fans thought they had uncovered everything, another person who had been on that rooftop that day quietly shared a small detail that changed the entire meaning of the photo forever. The truth behind why Taehyung lifted his phone in that exact moment turned out to be far more emotional than anyone expected.